Okay, let's see what we have here.
Albert submits an order for Super A market.
Okay.
So we need to go to purchase orders.
Purchase orders.
Not purchase orders. His commission under subsidiary ledger.
There we go. So we have a submission for the Super A market.
Yes. And we won't put no date or invoice yet, but the sales amount is 533.17.
Okay. 533.17. Okay, so there it is. Submits the order. Okay. And that's it for that one. So then we have, lastly, so the 28th, nothing really happened. Not much happened. So we only have daily sales.
Okay, I'll take this one. So, checking. We're gonna have a debit of 26.21.91, which is gonna be, yeah. I guess I should. That's what I usually do. But, anyways, sales medium regular coffee will be $477.60. The large regular coffee is $5.98 even. We'll have 610.05.
Oops. 610.05.
Yes, and 701.49. 34.95. And lastly, 199.82. And then I sum up those totals to get 2621.91 in my checking under debit.
Excellent. So here we go, 26.21.91.
Now, since I'm right here, I like to go over and just put the deposit in now so I don't forget.
Oops, sorry. Deposit.
Yes. The amount of 2621.91 for 6/28 June. And I carried that number over as well. So now we want to go to our general ledger. And we'll start with the first one, checking. In-store sales, GJ18.
In-store sales.
In the amount of 2621.91, should give you a balance of $8,921.94.
89.21.94.
Yes.
Good.
Then we'll go over to revenues then.
Oh, revenues. Okay. Sales.
Okay, good.
Sales. Medium regular. Okay.
Okay, let's see. And we went to 628, 240 cups. GJ 18,
Sorry, what was that? How many cups? 200 and
40. So I had it right. Yes. We'll credit 477.60. Get a balance of 42.76.51.
42.76.51. Good.
And we'll move down to the large cup of Joe. $6.28, 200 cups. GJ18 for $5.98 even, bringing that to 5.262 and 40 cents.
52.62.40. Good.
Then we'll move down to the medium supreme. $245 cups. GJ18. For $610.05, bringing the balance to $5,438.16.
Good.
Now we'll move down to the large supreme coffee. I could really go for one of those right now.
Large Supreme Coffee.
This time we sold 201 cups. GJ18, 701.49. Bring the balance to 60.55.15.
60.55.15. Good.
Once we're finished there, we move up to the ceramic coffee mugs. $6.28. Sold 5 mugs. GJ18. 34.95. Balance 15.43.30.
15.43.30. Good.
We still have one more. over to our sales tax payable under liabilities. $628, GJ18 for $199.82. Balance will be $1,636.59.
Good.
Now, this was in-store sales, so we don't need to deal with the subsidiary ledger. So from there, we will move to the inventory.
Good. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second to just copy this journal real quick. And let's take a look at how many pounds we used in the store. So once again, 40 pounds of regular, 40 pounds of Supreme. So let's go ahead and go to the inventory worksheet. Oops, wrong one, sorry. Inventory worksheet.
Under regular coffee,
Regular coffee.
$628, 40 pounds. Cost per item will be $1.64639, to give us a $65.86. We'll update our inventory on hand. Remove the 40 pounds from the 114.25 to give you 74.25. Minus the 65.86 from the 188.10 to give you 122.24, which will bring your new cost per item to 1.64633. Everyone good?
I'm good.
Okay. Now with the Supreme coffee, we're going to use 2 batches.
Okay.
So what I did first is I put my last of the first batch, 33.25.
So we have 33.25, okay.
Yes, that's what I did. So for the 33.25, our cost per item will be the 1.85 and the balance of the 61.51.
You said 61.51?
Yes.
All right.
And then our cost per item for the second batch is 1.89. It should give you 12.76 and a total of 74.27. Now you need to update your inventory on hand. coffee top batch, you will zero out. And you will subtract 6.75 from the 125 to give you 118.25. Subtract the 1276 from the should give you 223.49.
Perfect.
Once everyone's caught up.
Okay, so 74.27 and 65.86.
And we'll take these numbers and put them over into our general journal. And for your regular coffee cost of goods, $65.86. The Supreme is $74.27. And you'll transfer those same numbers over in the credit. That'll be okay for our general journal. We need to go back to the general ledger to update our inventory. Starting with cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold. There we go.
Use 40 pounds. TJ18. For $65.86. For balance of $10.97.51.
10.9751. Good.
And we'll move down to Supreme Coffee after that. $6.28. Use 40 pounds. TJ18. 74.27. Balance should be 1160.01.
Good. 11.60.01.
Yes. Once we're finished with cost of goods, we got to update our assets. Let's start with regular coffee. GJ or 628. used 40 pounds. GJ 18. Credit is 65.86. Bring you to 122.24. And that matches. And we'll move down to spring coffee. Used 40 pounds. GJ 18. Credit for 74.27. Bring that balance to 223.49, and it also matches.
Excellent. All right, that's it for that one. All right, we deposited the money already. We updated our inventory. So now it is finally payday. All right, so we got to pay Irene and Albert. All right, we got to pay for their paychecks. So here is their information here, right? We know Irene is a employee, right? Her full name is Irene Jameson. We understand that she worked a total of 8 days this week, right? With accumulating a total of 64 hours. Her marital status is single, and she claims 0 withholding. So she must be a young one that's trying to get some experience. So she claims 0 withholdings, and she is single status. So if you go ahead and take a look at the employees section right here. Employee section. I built you guys a table to make it much easier for you to calculate your checks, right? It allows you to calculate the gross earnings, and it allows you to also calculate everything for payroll taxes. So let's go ahead and dive one at a time, and then we'll piece our journal together, right? Let's do the calculations first, and then we'll recognize everything else later. So we know that she is Irene Jameson. It's payday time, right? It is the 28th, excuse me. So here we know that the pay rate that we gave her was $8.50, and we know from that table she claimed a total of 64 hours. So what is her gross pay?
$544.
$544. So that brings us to our table here to solve for our FITW, right? I've also attached a circular E table, right, that gives you the correct one, that she is a single person. The withholdings, right? This is just assuming this is 2019, but we're assuming it's 2020 now, so this doesn't even matter anymore. But for this case, this is the exact table, right? It's single status, bi-weekly, and of course these figures these are the 2020 figures. So it's the year 2020, right? So this is what we're looking at. Bi-weekly, single status, and so on and so forth, right? This is the table we're looking at. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go back to the employees and fill out each column. So gross pay, which we know for Irene is $544. Okay. So marital status, once again, is single. She claims 0 withholdings or nothing there to claim. So if you guys remember from payroll, therefore, if she doesn't claim any extra withholdings, therefore, there's nothing additional that she needs to take. We're assuming that this is her first job, right? We're assuming she's a young one, getting experience. This is her first job or her primary job, right? Second thing that we have is she doesn't have any extra deductions, no houses, no other payments, therefore 0 deductions that can take away from her gross pay. So from here on out, we skip step 1 and step 2 already, right? We already know where her gross pay is. So now we just move on to looking at her total gross earnings and use that to compute her FITW. So in this case, number of withholdings amount to withhold. In this case, since she claimed 0 times, 0 times anything is going to be 0. So she claims 0 withholdings. So therefore, her adjusted amount is still going to be $544. So now these right here is going to be what we're going to be looking at in the table. So circular E table is going to come into play here. Now, if she earned a total of $544, which bracket or which row does she belong in?
The one that starts with 526.
So here, 526, right? She made 544, so she went just a little bit over here. So 526 to 1,689. So how we read this is she earns more or at least $526, but earns less than $1,689, which in this case, she only made $544. Okay. We know that from here, if we read the table, the government's going to automatically take out from her paycheck $38 regardless of what amount she earns. All right? But the government also lets her keep $526, and anything that she earned extra is subject to be taxed at 12%. So in this case, the amount that she gets to keep is $526. So let's go ahead and plug that into our table. I keep hitting the wrong table. So here, the amount over, right, is going to be whatever 544 is, subtract out what the government lets her keep, which in this case is $526. All right, you can self-reference it if you like. Okay.
18.
But I got $18, right? Now, from the table that we just looked at, how much is she subject to have to pay with the amount over? In this case, we know it's 12%.
$2.60.
Should come to
It should be
4016.
$2.
What did I do?
I was thinking the same thing. I added the 38 and the 216.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
And then the amount to withhold, right? You have to, right? The government is going to take away from the check automatically without, doesn't matter how much she makes, is automatically $38. So her total FITW is 4016. Yes, that's the total. So this right here, right? This is the amount that the government's going to withhold regardless if the amounts they make. She gets to keep a portion of the money, but anything that she makes extra is going to be subject to an additional 12% tax. So therefore, the baseline here is the government's going to take $38 plus an additional of whatever excess she made. So in this case, she made in excess $18, which we tax 12% for. So therefore, she has to pay an additional $2.16 on top of the 38 to get a grand total of $40.16. Right? So that's her FITW, right? She didn't claim any children, so therefore her FITW holds at $40.16. Okay.
Okay. Show me the formula under the total federal withholdings.
I just added them together.
Oh, the 216 and the 38. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Where did you get the 18 from again?
This one is taking the $544 that she earned. That's her gross pay, right? Subtract out what the government lets her keep, which is the $526.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's federal income tax withholdings. Right? All right, so from here, right, now we need to also compute how much taxes that she is subject to have to pay in addition to her FITW. And we're also going to determine how much she gets to write the check out for, or how much she gets the check out for. So gross pay, once again, how much did she earn?
544.
$544, okay? We already figured out FITW was the $40.16, okay? Now OASDI, right, also known as Social Security. So for these numbers here, because these percentages are, or that they have decimal points places onto them, so we're going to have to use an equal round. So in this case, OASDIs, right, is 6.2%, right? So how do we calculate this based off of the gross earnings?
Equal rounds, gross pay times 0.062, comma 2, which will give us 3373.
Good. Right. HI, also known as Medicare, all right, is going to be 1.45%. So once again, because we have 10,000ths of a penny over here in the percentage, so we have to calculate and use equal round. So how do we calculate the amount of Medicare that she is subject to pay?
Take the 544 times 0.0145.
Mm-hmm.
It's $7.89.
$7.89, right? Now, since these are the only basic taxes, right? We already listed that she receives no benefits whatsoever, right? Because we're a small company, we can't afford it. So the only thing that we have to do is calculate the bare minimum. We live in the state of Nevada, right? The store is in the state of Nevada. Therefore, there is no state taxes. So here we have it. So this person is subject to do a net pay, right? You take your gross, subtract your federal, subtract your OASDI, subtract your Medicare. And what is her gross or net pay here?
462.22.
462.22. And so what the PR and check number is going to be what? So PR is going to be where are you going to journalize this in the journal? The check number. So good. GJ18.
And then we have to go back and get a check number, which will be 1528.
And the check amount is going to be
462.22.
good. All right. So let's go ahead and we can journalize this if you'd like, or we can compute. Let's journalize this first. All right. So let's see. All right. It is now June 28th. How do we journalize payroll?
Salary. It's gonna be checking first.
Not checking. We're not receiving a check from Irene.
Oh, okay.
Salaries and wages expense.
Yes, because we have to incur an expense in order to pay Irene. And she's considered a wage, right? Okay. Right. What else do we need to think about? We already calculated it, a bunch of things that are in here, but what are they?
Okay, I thought I was muted. Employee FITW payable.
Yes, right? We need to take away from her paycheck the employee federal income tax withholdings. Right? And because we're taking it away from her paycheck, therefore we're responsible to have to pay into the government for her. Right? So therefore it becomes a liability. Right?
Next one we'll use will be employee OASDI payable.
Right? Right? Old age survivors and disability insurance. All right, also known as Social Security. Right? She has to pay into it. What else?
Employee high payable.
Right? This is HI stands for hospital insurance. Okay, also known as Medicare. And last but not least, what else?
Checking.
We need to write her a check. Okay. So, what are my account numbers here?
Okay. So 6810 24030.
2430.
No, 24030. And it'll be 24040, 24050, and 10100.
Okay. So,
And,
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, and I just put a note, Irene Jameson, check number 1528, which we still have to go to check registry to put that in.
Okay.
Ready to sub the numbers in?
Yes, so
Employee FITW payable was 4016, then 3373, $789, and then her paycheck $462.22.
Which should give us
Yep,
a grand total
544.
of her gross earnings of $544. Good. All right, we still need to write our check to Irene. So check register.
628 for check number 1528 for the amount of 462.22. And my note, I just put Irene Jameson, comma, payroll.
Okay. All right, so what's next?
Okay, we'll have to go to the general ledger. And I like to start at the top, so I went to expenses, to the salaries and wages expense. $628. Irene Jameson, check number 1528. GJ 18. Debit $544, which brings that balance to 544. Everyone's caught up. We have to go under liabilities down to employee federal withholding payable. It'll be 628. Irene Jameson, GJ 18. Post reference, credit of 4016 to bring that balance to 4016. We'll drop down one to the OASDI payable. Post reference GJ 18, and the credit will be 3373. So bring that balance to 3373. employee payable. 628, Irene Jameson, GJ 18. A credit for 789. Last but not least, we have to go to assets under checking. I put for my notes the check number. And I also added payroll, comma, Irene Jameson. GJ 18, and that will be a credit for 462.22, which should give you a balance of 8459.72.
Good. Excellent. Okay. All right. Now that we're there, now we have to do something else. Now that we just paid or we calculated Irene's FITW, right? We took away what the taxes that are subject that she has to pay for working at our store. So therefore, we are also subject to also pay taxes for having Irene as a employee. So let's go back to our employees worksheet, and this time we need to figure out what our company has to pay for having Irene as a worker. So here we know that Irene earned a total of $544. So it's going to be based on whatever Irene earned at the store. So this is what she worked. She worked a total of $544 worth. Now, once again, these numbers, we already know what her OIASCI is, right? As a company, if she's paying into her Social Security and Medicare, you are obligated to pay up to 100% of the same amount as whatever the employee put in. So in this case, we've already calculated it. It was $33.73 for OSCI, and it was $7.89 for her Medicare. So in this case, we would normally combine it, just put it into we consider that as just company FICA. Straightforward. All right. Now here is going to be where we need to calculate. We need to pay into their federal unemployment Federal Unemployment Tax Act, because for them working at our company, we also need to be able to pay for them in case we fire them. Okay, or in case they lose a job. They can request us as an employer because we paid into the system. So we have to calculate it, which we know in this class I taught to you guys is going to be 6%. In this case, I'm going to be consistent and just do equal round for every single one. So in this case, this is based off of the total earnings. So what is going to be the total FUTA that I am subject to have to pay for?
3264.
3264. All right. And then we also have to deal with state unemployment tax, right? In Nevada, yes, we do have state unemployment tax. We don't have state taxes, but that's where we get money to govern the thing, to provide the things for the resources for specific people, right? We also have the state that we have to make a payment to, all right? And in this case, we learned that it is that all businesses that are starting brand spanking new, they are subject to have to pay up to 3% into state unemployment tax. All right, so it's also based on the earnings. So in this case, what is my total SUTA?
1632.
1632. And Irene, right? We have to protect ourselves by being able to put in an account called workers' compensation, just in case Irene gets injured in a job. What if she holds a pot of coffee and it was too hot and she burns her hands? We're responsible to pay for those medical bills in case she comes around and decides to sue us, fire us, whatever. Right? So in this case, we want to keep ourselves protected by keeping our employees protected, but as keeping the entity protected as well. So we learned that workers' compensation, it could be any value, but in this case, I'm going to use 1.36%. So what is my total value that is subject to, that the company has to pay for workers' compensation?
740.
$7.40. So here in grand total, what are the total liabilities that
798.
$97.98 just to have Irene work at our store? All right. So therefore, now that we calculated our tax liabilities that we are subject to pay, we need to journalize this so then we can keep track of how much we actually have to pay the government. All right. So journal. All right. And we definitely have enough space for this. So
Payroll tax expense. Company FICA payable.
good.
Company FUTA payable.
Yep.
Company SUTA payable. Workers' comp payable. And I just put a note, Irene Jameson payroll.
Oops. Irene Jameson payroll. Okay. This is
Numbers are 60830. 24060, 24070, 24080, 24090.
All right. So, right, we calculated it. So each one, so what was the company FICA? So it's going to be your OSTI plus your HI. So what's your total FICA that you had to pay?
62.
4162, right? How much was FUTA?
3264.
And then how much was SUTA?
1632.
And last but not least, how much was workers' compensation?
740.
All right, giving us a grand total
9798.
9798. All right.
From there, we'll go to our expenses. Under payroll tax expense.
Payroll tax expense.
628. Irene Jameson. GJ18. Debit for 9798. And off to liabilities. Irene Jameson, GJ18 for a credit of 4162. We'll move down one to FUTA. For a credit of 3264. We'll move down to SUTA. Credit for 1632. Last but not least, workers' comp payable. For the 740.
Okay. All right, I kind of want to finish up the last two ones. They're quick and easy ones. So let's just finish them up. So spare me a few extra minutes after class if we do extend that part. But the next two are really easy. Just because I want to leave the trial balance to be just done on Monday. So here, right, we computed.
Tomorrow, right? We got class tomorrow.
No, we don't have class tomorrow. Today's Thursday.
We didn't have it Monday, so we don't have class on Friday. Oh, okay.
No. With you guys are on point. You guys are on target. We're gonna end class a week early. So, is there
No.
no class on Friday?
Okay.
So, all right. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna spend the next couple minutes. So if you could just extend me a couple minutes after class, for this particular thing. So then Monday we just do the trial balance together. All right. So next we have here is we're going to be looking at paying Albert for his commissions, right? Here we got a grand total of 1,401.68, right? If we go ahead and take a look at our commissions worksheet, right? We've already made a note, right? When he submitted his worksheet, we owe him a total of 149 or 18. So in this case, 140.18, that's all we got to do. We just got to write him a check. All right? Because he's a 1099 worker. We don't care to pay anything except for him as a mere expense to the company. We don't care about calculating any withholdings for him because they are a 1099 worker. They have to file their own taxes at the end of the year. So in this case, all we have to do is just pay whatever we owe to Albert. In this case, we owe him 190.18. Right? Because we agreed. Oh yeah, 140.18. Excuse me, which is 10%. Right? So there we go. All we have to do is just write him a check. All right. Now, what account are we going to use to reflect that we're paying him?
Commission expense and checking.
Yes, right? We're going to pay him as commissions expense. And, of course, we're going to cut him a check. But he's not considered payroll. He's just considered as a regular check. So in this case, right, we're writing this check out to Albert Allen. Check number 1529, right? And if you want to make a note, you could say 10% of sales. Right. So commissions expense, what was it? What's the account number?
32,000.
32,000, you mean 60 commissions expense?
Wait a minute, no, 68820.
60820.
I thought it was 68820.
6
I have to go back and look now.
6 8 820.
Is commission payable something else?
Commissions payable is when we accrue for his how much we owe him, right? Because again, payable means that we owe people money. In this case, we're paying him right now.
Okay.
So 10,100, right? And it was for how much?
140.18.
140.18. All right. And that's it, right? We go to our check register to go ahead and cut him a check. for 140.18 to Albert Allen. So now we only have two things that we're looking at, right? We're looking at commissions expense and checking account. So commissions expense is, I think it's the one before it. There we are. Commissions expense for Albert. 10% of sales. All right. General Journal 19 since we finished the last one, right? And we're going to debit for 140.16, which that is,
140.18.
oh, sorry. I keep thinking 16. I don't know why. 140.18. There we go. Right? Which then gives us a debit balance of 140.18. Right? Last but not least, we have to also cut the check for Albert. So here on the 28, check number 1529 to Albert. For 140.18. Which then brings us down to 8,319 and 54 cents. Okay. Last but not least, Mr. Bob Mason decides to take money from the bank. So we're going to cut him a check so he can properly take the money out of the bank. So in this case, what am I going to do? How am I going to journalize that we're going to take money away from the bank?
Owner's withdrawal.
Yes, we're going to use an owner's withdrawal.
Owner's withdrawal. PR 32,000 and checking.
Yes, we're going to cut him a check. All right, and for what amount am I cutting this check out for?
1,500.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go to our check register to indicate that I wrote a check out to the boss, which is, if you guys remember, Mr. Bob Mason is the boss.
I just can't put myself.
You're not the boss, remember? You're just the accountant.
Oh, yeah.
You're the intern, remember? All right, so last but not least, you could just write here, owner withdraw from company, and then you can also indicate what the check number was. In this case, check number 1530. Right. Since I reached the end of my journal, or at least this week's transactions, right, I generally just throw in a little bar right here just to indicate that I am done with this week of transactions. So if you want to do so, you can do so. If not, that's fine. All right, and I also like to indicate trial balance week 4. All right. Then, last but not least, go ahead and update your ledger. Okay. So now we're dipping into an equity account. All right. As you can see here, Mr. Bob Mason has also taken money away from the company before. And we're going to say payment to owner, right? He says, I worked so hard getting this store up and running, so I deserve to get paid. So therefore, the running balance here is going to be for a total of $3,000 that Bob has taken away from the company. Right? All right. Yes. Then, last but not least, this is the very last one. We're going to go ahead and cut the check out to Bob Mason. Check number 1530. Okay. General Journal 19 for $1,500, which then drops my bank account down to $6,819.54. Okay.